United States history. Around 1700 AD. Part 5. New Hampshire. January 4, 1776. New Hampshire becomes the first colony to declare independence from Britain. North Carolina. February 27, 1776. The Battle of Moores Creek Bridge is a Patriot victory. Massachusetts. March 17, 1776. British evacuate Boston. North Carolina. April 12, 1776. North Carolina issues the Halifax Resolves, the first official colonial call for independence. Rhode Island. May 4, 1776. Rhode Island became the first colony to declare independence from Britain 2 months before the Declaration of Independence. Delaware. June 15, 1776. Delaware declared independence from Pennsylvania and Britain, becoming the Delaware state. South Carolina. June 28, 1776. South Carolina declares independence from Britain. The Battle of Sullivan's Island marks a key Patriot victory. Delaware. July 2, 1776. Caesar Rodney famously rode 70 miles overnight to cast Delaware's deciding vote for the Declaration of Independence. New York. August 27, 1776. British defeat Washington at the Battle of Long Island, occupying New York City for the war's duration. New York. September 21, 1776. Great Fire of 1776 destroys a quarter of the city. Nathan Hale is executed as a spy. Connecticut. 1776. Connecticut representatives Samuel Huntington, Roger Sherman, William Williams, and Oliver Wolcott signed the Declaration of Independence. Jonathan Trumbull became the only colonial governor to continue serving as state governor after independence, earning Connecticut the nickname the Provision State for its material support of the Continental Army. Georgia. 1776. Georgia signs the Declaration of Independence. Button Gwinnett, Lyman Hall, George Walton. New Jersey. 1776. New Jersey adopts its first constitution, allowing property-owning women and free black men to vote. The Battle of Trenton, Washington's surprise attack on Hessian forces revives the Revolution. Pennsylvania. 1776. The Declaration of Independence was drafted in Philadelphia. Tennessee. 1776. William Bean establishes first permanent settlement at Bean Station. Utah. 1776. The Dominguez Escalante expedition, led by Franciscan priests, explored Utah Lake and documented interactions with Native Americans. Virginia. 1776. Thomas Jefferson writes Declaration of Independence. Virginia. 1776. Virginia adopts state constitution. West Virginia. 1776. Western Virginians petitioned Congress to create West Sylvania, but were denied. Connecticut. 1777. British troops under General Tryon raided Danbury. Delaware. 1777. The Battle of Couch's Bridge, near Newark, was Delaware's only major Revolutionary War battle. New Hampshire. 1777. General John Stark led victory at the Battle of Bennington. Vermont. 1777. Vermont declares independence as the Vermont Republic, adopting a constitution that bans slavery. Battle of Bennington. Vermont militia defeats British forces. Pennsylvania. 1777 to 1778. Valley Forge winter encampment. Washington's troops endured harsh conditions. Hawaii. January 18, 1778. Cook lands at Waimea, Kauai, naming the archipelago the Sandwich Islands, after Earl of Sandwich. Rhode Island. August 29, 1778. The Battle of Rhode Island was fought as an unsuccessful attempt to expel British forces from Newport. The Black Regiment of enslaved and free African Americans distinguished itself in battle. Illinois. 1778. George Rogers Clark captures Kaskaskia for Virginia during the Revolutionary War. Kentucky. 1778. George Rogers Clark establishes Corn Island, later Louisville. Washington. 1778. British Captain James Cook sights Cape Flattery. Connecticut. 1779. British forces raided New Haven, Fairfield, and Norwalk. Hawaii. 1779. Cook is killed at Kealakekua Bay, Hawaii Island, after tensions with Hawaiians. Indiana. 1779. George Rogers Clark captures Vincennes from the British during the American Revolution. Tennessee. 1779. James Robertson founds Fort Nashboro, future Nashville. John Donaldson leads settlers to Nashville, signed Cumberland Compact. Alabama. 1780. Spanish captured Mobile during American Revolution, retaining West Florida. Massachusetts. 1780. Massachusetts adopts first state constitution, serving as model for U.S. Constitution. Missouri. 1780. Battle of St. Louis. British-backed forces attacked Spanish-held St. Louis during the American Revolution. Pennsylvania. 1780. Pennsylvania passed the Gradual Abolition Act, the first U.S. emancipation law. Virginia. 1780. Capital moves to Richmond. South Carolina. 1780. British forces capture Charleston during the Revolutionary War, but Patriot victories at Kings Mountain, October, and Cowpens, 1781, turn the tide. Tennessee. 1780. Overmountain men from Tennessee win pivotal Battle of Kings Mountain, South Carolina. Rhode Island. 1780 to 1781. French forces under Rochambeau landed in Newport, making it their base. Their presence led Rhode Island to repeal laws banning Catholics. North Carolina. March 15, 1781. The Battle of Guilford Courthouse weakens British forces, contributing to Cornwallis's surrender at Yorktown. California. 1781. The Pueblo of Los Angeles was founded by 44 settlers of African, indigenous, and European descent. Connecticut. 1781. Benedict Arnold, a Connecticut native turned traitor, attacked New London and Groton, resulting in a massacre at Fort Griswold. Generals George Washington and Comte de Rochambeau planned the Yorktown campaign at the Webb House in Wethersfield. Michigan. 1781. Spanish briefly capture Fort St. Joseph near Niles. Virginia. 1781. British surrender at Yorktown effectively ends war. Kentucky. 1782. Battle of Blue Licks, last major Revolutionary War battle in Kentucky. Ohio. 1782. Janaden-Hutton Massacre. Ohio militia kills 96 Lenape Native Americans. Hawaii. 1782 to 1810. Kamehameha the Great unifies Hawaii. New York. November 25, 1783. Evacuation Day. British troops depart. Washington returns to New York City. Connecticut. 1783. The consecration of Bishop Samuel Seabury at Woodbury's Glebe House marked the beginning of the Protestant Episcopal Church in the U.S. Florida. 1783. Spain regains Florida post-revolution but struggles to control it. Seminole tribes form from Creek migrants and escaped enslaved Africans. Maine. 1783. The Treaty of Paris confirmed Maine as part of the U.S., but it remained a district of Massachusetts. Mississippi. 1783. Spain regains the territory post-American Revolution, but cedes it to the U.S. in 1798 after disputes. New Jersey. 1783. Princeton briefly serves as the U.S. capital. Wisconsin. 1783. Wisconsin ceded to U.S. after French and Indian War. Rhode Island. 1784. Rhode Island passed gradual emancipation legislation, freeing children born to enslaved mothers after March 1st upon reaching adulthood, 18 for girls, 21 for boys. Connecticut. 1784. Tapping Reeve established America's first law school in Litchfield. Hartford, Middletown, New Haven, New London, and Norwich became Connecticut's first incorporated cities. Connecticut passed a gradual emancipation law freeing children born to enslaved mothers after March 1784, when they reached age 25, later reduced to 21. Alaska. 1784. Grigory Shelikov establishes the first permanent Russian settlement at Three Saints Bay, Kodiak Island. Tennessee. 1784. State of Franklin declares independence from North Carolina. New Mexico. 1786. Treaty with Comanches ended their raids, allowing expansion of Spanish settlements. Massachusetts. 1786 to 1787. Shays Rebellion protests economic policies. Delaware. December 7, 1787. Delaware became the first state to ratify the U.S. Constitution, earning its nickname, the First State. Pennsylvania. December 12, 1787. The U.S. Constitution was drafted in Philadelphia. Pennsylvania became the second state. Connecticut. 1787. Oliver Ellsworth, William Samuel Johnson, and Roger Sherman represented Connecticut at the Constitutional Convention. Sherman proposed the Connecticut Compromise that created our bicameral legislature. Iowa. 1787. Julien Dubuque, a French-Canadian, established the first European settlement near modern-day Dubuque, mining lead with Meskwaki permission. New Jersey. 1787. New Jersey ratifies the U.S. Constitution, third state, and proposes the New Jersey Plan, leading to equal Senate representation. Ohio. 1787. Ohio becomes part of the Northwest Territory under the Northwest Ordinance, prohibits slavery. Georgia. 1788. Georgia ratifies the U.S. Constitution, becoming the fourth state. Connecticut. January 9, 1788. Connecticut became the fifth state to ratify the U.S. Constitution. Massachusetts. February 6, 1788. Massachusetts becomes sixth state to ratify U.S. Constitution. Maryland. April 28, 1788. Maryland became the seventh U.S. state. South Carolina. May 23, 1788. South Carolina ratifies the U.S. Constitution, becoming the eighth state. New Hampshire. June 21, 1788. New Hampshire is the ninth state to ratify the U.S. Constitution, ensuring its adoption. Virginia. June 25, 1788. Virginia becomes 10th state to ratify U.S. Constitution. New York. 1788. New York is the 11th state to ratify the U.S. Constitution. Louisiana. 1788. A devastating fire destroyed 856 buildings in New Orleans. Ohio. 1788. Marietta, Ohio's first permanent settlement, founded by Rufus Putnam. Tennessee. 1788. State of Franklin collapses. North Carolina. November 21st, 1789. North Carolina ratifies the U.S. Constitution, becoming the 12th state. New York. 1789. New York City serves as the first U.S. capital. George Washington is inaugurated at Federal Hall. Virginia. 1789. George Washington becomes first U.S. president. Illinois. 1780s. Jean-Baptiste Point du Sable, a Haitian-born trader, founds Chicago's first permanent settlement. Vermont. 1780s. Vermont negotiates with Britain and the U.S. over statehood. New Jersey. 1790. Trenton becomes the state capital. New Jersey signs the Bill of Rights first. Rhode Island. May 29, 1790. After resisting due to concerns over states' rights, Rhode Island became the last of the original 13 states to ratify the U.S. Constitution, only doing so after the Bill of Rights was promised. Rhode Island. 1790. Samuel Slater established America's first successful water-powered cotton mill in Pawtucket, marking the beginning of the Industrial Revolution in America. District of Columbia. 1790. Residence Act passed, authorizing a new capital along the Potomac River. Vermont. March 4, 1791. Vermont joins the U.S. as the 14th state. Maryland. 1791. Ceded land for the District of Columbia. Tennessee. 1791. Knoxville Gazette becomes Tennessee's first newspaper. District of Columbia. 1791. Pierre Charles L'Enfant designs the city plan. George Washington selects the exact location. Virginia. 1792. Kentucky separates from Virginia to become 15th state. Kentucky. June 1, 1792. Kentucky becomes the 15th U.S. state with Isaac Shelby as its first governor. Frankfort is chosen as the capital. Connecticut. 1792. Connecticut's first turnpike road company was incorporated between New London and Norwich. The first banks were established in Hartford, New London, and New Haven. New York. 1792. New York Stock Exchange founded under a buttonwood tree on Wall Street. Oregon. 1792. Captain Robert Gray discovers and names the Columbia River, cementing U.S. claims to the region. Washington. 1792. George Vancouver maps Puget Sound and names Mount Rainier. American Robert Gray discovers the Columbia River. District of Columbia. 1792. Construction begins on the White House, completed in 1800. Georgia. 1793. Eli Whitney invents the cotton gin near Savannah, revolutionizing the Southern economy. South Carolina. 1793. The cotton gin revolutionizes agriculture, leading to a slave-based plantation economy. District of Columbia. 1793. Cornerstone of the U.S. Capitol laid. Connecticut. 1793 to 1796. The old State House in Hartford was built, designed by Charles Bulfinch. Ohio. 1794. Battle of Fallen Timbers. General Mad Anthony Wayne defeats Native American Confederacy, leading to the Treaty of Greenville, 1795. Tennessee. 1794. Blount College, precursor to University of Tennessee, founded as first non-denominational U.S. college. Connecticut. 1795. Connecticut sold its Western Reserve lands in northeastern Ohio for $1.2 million, using proceeds to establish the school fund. Hawaii. 1795. Kamehameha I defeats rivals at the Battle of Nuuanu, Oahu, using Western weapons. Tennessee. 1796. Tennessee adopts Constitution February 6. Becomes 16th state June 1. John Sevier elected first governor. Andrew Jackson becomes first congressman. Michigan. 1796. British evacuate Detroit under the Jay Treaty, transferring control to the U.S. Mississippi. 1798. The Mississippi Territory is established, encompassing present-day Mississippi and Alabama. Rhode Island. 1798. David Wilkinson patented a nut and bolt machine in Rhode Island. Alabama. 1799. U.S. took possession of Fort St. Stephen's from Spain, first U.S. flag raised in future Alabama. Alaska. 1799. Russian-American Company, RAC, is chartered by Tsar Paul I, with Alexander Baranov as its first manager. Sitka, New Archangel, becomes the capital of Russian America. Connecticut. 1799. Eli Whitney secured his first federal contract to manufacture muskets using his system of interchangeable parts, a breakthrough that revolutionized industry. Colorado. 1700s. Spanish and French traders establish limited contact with Native American tribes, but do not settle permanently. Kentucky. By the 1700s, Kentucky was primarily a hunting ground for Shawnee, Cherokee, and Chickasaw tribes. Montana. 1700s. The Crow, Apsaluke, migrated from Alberta to south-central Montana. Other tribes like the Blackfeet, Cheyenne, Assiniboine, and Salish established territories across the region. Rhode Island. 1700s. Rhode Island became deeply involved in the transatlantic slave trade, with Newport becoming a major hub. By the late 18th century, Rhode Island merchants controlled 60 to 90% of the American slave trade. South Dakota. 1700s. Lakota Sioux migrated from Minnesota, displacing other tribes and mastering horse-based bison hunting. Maryland. 18th century. Economy. Tobacco plantations reliant on enslaved labor dominated. Virginia. 18th century. Scots-Irish and German settlers move into Shenandoah Valley.